Hey guys, I'm super excited about today's video. Our guest has built an incredible Amazon business, scaled it to multiple marketplaces, launched dozens of products, and finally sold his business for almost $1 million. So if you're interested in doing any of that, then make sure to keep watching. So today we have Nate Ginsberg with us, entrepreneur and very successful Amazon seller. If you haven't checked out our video from last week, we delved right into Nate's story of how he discovered the Amazon opportunity, grew his business to, selling in a bunch of different marketplaces, and then to top it off, even selling quite a large business. And what was the number you ended up selling that for?
Sold for just under $1 million, for $950,000 to be exact.
Wow, that is crazy, and congrats, man. That's quite an achievement.
Thank you.
So today what we wanted to do is we wanted to delve in a little bit more into the details in terms of how he grew his business and was able to achieve some of the incredible things that he has. So let's get right into it. So one of the big questions that we get asked a lot is, how much money do you need to get started? So I'm super curious, how much did you get started with your business?
The first product order was, I think, all in, ended up being around $5,000. So it's tricky because you can start with, maybe $1,000 for a first product, order a couple hundred units if they're not that expensive, but then if it sells, then it costs more money. Certainly is possible for less, but I would say at least, a couple $1,000s.
What level of risk was that for you personally? Was that quite scary for you, or was that an amount that you were okay with investing?
I had okay cash flow from different, marketing or consulting projects that I was working on. So I still, this wasn't like the last of my money. I still had not a ton, but some money, coming in to support myself.
That's a great point, because I think it's one of the things that we talk about as well, is that if this is like your last savings and this is money that you're going to need back, it's probably, it's probably not the right thing for you to do at that time. It's like really you want to be starting out with money that you'd be okay with losing.
And to take that a step further, even if things, go well and it hits, like, you still shouldn't expect to be taking that money back out really anytime soon. I mean, 6 months or, a year. And even if, you take your start money and invest it, and then sales go well, then you have to reinvest it in, more inventory and then, more products. And so would not want that to be the last $5,000 that you need next month. And I think it's best if you can, reinvest it in the business and, are in a situation where you're prepared to do that.
How did you scale the number of products that you had? Like, did you access any additional funding or credit or finance or anything like that?
So the first kind of run up when sales were on my second product really started to take off, and then launched a third product, fourth, fifth, I was just freaking maxing out all my credit cards to pay for inventory and shipping and using this to pay off this. And thankfully sales continued so that I was able to pay off my credit cards. So that's what I used,
Crazy.
Honestly, for the start. Thankfully, I'm American, so have access to a lot of credit.
Yeah.
So that was the start. And then after taking on my business partner, investor, then had access to additional capital that we used for more growth.
A lot of people have fears about putting any money in, let alone like taking out a credit limit in order to take a gamble on this kind of business idea. I suppose you already had one product that you were seeing sales, so you knew that this... You knew this thing was real, that you could see the potential.
I wasn't, maxing out my credit cards at first. It wasn't until... these products were hitting, they were selling. They were already selling, and I needed to buy more of them. And I couldn't keep them in stock. So it felt safer. I knew this wasn't like a new, totally new endeavor. I already knew these products were selling, and so was more comfortable, using credit to buy more.
Yep. Cool. Well, that leads us into a good sort of like segue into kind of cash flow, because that tends to be one of the big bottlenecks for this particular business. So were you using credit just to keep restocking and kind of getting your first couple of products going, or did you actually use credit to just get a new upfront order for to launch a brand new product as well?
It was mostly to fund inventory or buying more inventory of the products that I was selling, but as well as like the kind of like second through sixth or seventh products were kind of similar variations-ish of each other, and so I was using credit to buy more of the ones that were selling, as well as kind of expand into some of these similar but additional products. But I was still confident in them because they were going after similar keywords that I knew we had success with, so it didn't seem like as much of a shot in the dark.
I'm super curious, how did you know when it was the right time to introduce a new product? Like, was it just a matter of literally doing the maths and kind of going, okay, by the end of next month I should have this much profit or this much that I can reinvest into a new product? How did you figure out when to scale? Because it sounds like you scaled your product very quickly.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I guess for me it was much more intuitive. I knew that I wanted to maximize this opportunity, and to be honest, just I have this like thing in me that if I'm not moving forward, it makes me antsy or anxious, and so. I mean, I don't remember exactly the feeling, a couple years ago, but it was something like I just, stuff was selling well, and then it would just kind of like, all right, like we got to expand, and then like, boom, all right, we're expanding, and then so it was more like that than all right, like let's analyze that. Okay. There wasn't as much. It was much more intuitive. The decision making process.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So did you identify like, some people might spend a lot of time trying to optimize their one product or their one or two products as much as possible. Or the other way to go is to kind of, just move straight into launching another product. Did you sort of identify that having more products was kind of perhaps like the key to really scaling this Amazon business? Or
in short, more products, more sales, and you get to a point with your products where you can be ranking really well for most of your keywords, and your ranks can go up a little bit or down a little bit, but you kind of know that product's potential, and so you could squeeze a little bit more out, or you could launch a new one that has way more upside.
Yeah, so I suppose like the gains become very incremental past a certain point. What was the price point of your products? Like, as you were growing your line, did you sort of have some criteria in terms of like, were you looking for lots of lower priced ones, or were you kind of going, I'll get higher priced ones where there's less competition, or like, did you kind of have a strategy for that?
We've sold a wide range of products, on the low end from like $7.95, up until the most expensive was like $65. I mean, some during holidays we jacked up the prices and we're selling for like $99. But most of them around $20 range.
Yep. Okay, perfect. And that leads me to another like big sort of question that a lot of people are wondering about. Do you believe in building out a brand or a line of products, or do you just sell things that sell?
So it's a good question, and the decision that I made, this is now, years ago, for the direction of my Amazon business was more wide and just, finding the right opportunities. And we have some, loosely tied together brands, but didn't really, build out that brand. And, that strategy's worked out okay for us. Okay. But if I was starting over, I would, build out more of a well thought out product line.
In the past, we've always said to our audience that, when you first start out on Amazon, the best bet is just to kind of go all in with PPC and things on Amazon, and kind of leave building a website and driving traffic and so forth till a later stage, because you're going to get your best bang for buck on Amazon. However, of course, we all know that the competition's getting greater and so forth. What would you say to someone that's starting out now? Do you think that's, are these the sorts of things that people should be thinking about upon starting a business today, or still,
So starting a business today, yes, I think those are things that people should be thinking about. Okay. Starting a business 3 years ago, no, you don't need to think about those things. But today, it is not the same game that it was 3 years ago, and yes, you should be thinking of your off Amazon or some sort of additional marketing.
The next question is, how many products have you actually launched at this time?
Lifetime, we've probably launched between the US and the European market 60 or 70.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that.
And, have you had many flops or many products that you've sort of sold out and no longer sell? Or?
All of our products, actually, that we launched in the US, we reordered. Okay. In the EU, we're probably at closer to 50% success rate. And that, though, the problem hasn't been all the products we've been able to get sales. The challenge has been profitability, specifically factoring in VAT, which 20% off the top in Europe makes profitability quite challenging.
Right.
And so many of those products we have not reordered, but have been able to at least get through. It's not that they're just sitting there, it's that we can't really sell them that profitably.
Would you suggest to a new seller starting today to start in the US or try to tackle the EU?
I would say start in Japan, actually, because the US is very competitive, and the EU is VAT sucks.
Yeah.
It's really challenging, especially when you're competing with some sellers that are probably not paying VAT. Makes it very difficult to compete with some products in the EU. Then Japan has a much more manageable VAT. It's certainly not as crowded. Yes, you are going to need to be able to manage someone or have someone that can communicate in Japanese, but I mean, I don't see that as a significant hurdle. If you're selling in the EU, you got to get listings translated into German or French or Spanish or Italian, and Upwork, you can hire anyone literally for anything all over the world. So not a significant hurdle.
Let's talk about the sale of your business. How is that calculated? How much a business is worth?
So business value, there's pretty standard valuations for businesses like this. Amazon businesses or e-commerce businesses generally getting between 2 and 3x of your yearly profit. Most commonly based off of a trailing 12 months. So your trailing 12 months profit times 2 to 3-ish x can go a bit in either direction depending on some different factors. And there you go, is sale price. But then you also will get the value of your inventory added, added to the sale price. Then if you use a broker, minus a broker fee. That's how they're generally calculated.
Okay, interesting. And I'm sure to like most of us, what was it, like $950K? Was that the amount you were after, or was there much negotiation or many numbers thrown around?
We wanted higher and they wanted lower. And my sale was a little bit different because it wasn't really officially evaluated. It was just us kind of meeting, and then the buyer proposed a number, and actually at first I declined. He originally offered $900, and I came back with 1.1 that we wanted, or maybe it was even 1.2.
Damn.
And then that actually broke negotiations for we stopped for, I don't know if it was a couple days or a week, and honestly maybe the most stressful week of my life. After turning down $900,000, I left. It was just like, oh my god, what did I just do? Did I just make the biggest mistake of my life? And, thankfully, but held strong, and And yeah, a couple days or a week later, the buyer came back and then offered the $950, which I was just like, yep, okay, good, done.
That's crazy. You know, how long was it before you were able to actually draw profits from this business?
Well, with my business, when it was starting, you know, there was this ramp up where I was, you know, maxing my credit cards to buy inventory and this and that, and it was just, you know, this cash flow treadmill of money in and money out for this, and, you know, money coming to Amazon and money on the credit cards and using credit cards for this and that, and you know, during this time I didn't really have a set salary, but I still was occasionally, you know, transfer $1,000 out as I needed or $2,000 out, and at this time, and when I started the business, I had other, I guess, forms of cash flow. You know, fast forward, you know, 6 months in or 7 or 8 months in, when the business was really starting to take off, those cash flows were not there anymore. So at that point, I was in it, and I needed, you know, I needed this money to live, and so was transferring some out, and yeah, so I was doing that for a while until the sale, which, you know, gave me some cushion and didn't need to rely on a salary or taking money out. You know, I would not approach this expecting to take a lot of money out anytime soon. And I mean, you know, these businesses can generate a lot of revenue and profit, but they're also very capital intensive to run and require a lot of reinvestment, especially if you are growing. And so, I mean, in my personal experience, the overwhelming amount of the money in my bank account has come from the two sales, selling the half to Travis and the other half, and then the other half, the U.S. side of the business. And so that's where most of the money in my bank from this business has come from, you know, not from salaries. And
is there a number you would give, like, you know, perhaps at least a year into your business, or a number of products?
I'd say, you know, 6 months to a year for sure. And the longer the better, you know, at a certain point, if the business is going well, then you might be faced with the decision of, oh, I could take out this $2,000 into my pocket or launch that next product. And so it's, you know, it's a balance. And that being said, I think, you know, 6 months, you know, a year, till things are up and running and you know, cash flowing and going before taking money out, you know, sounds reasonable.
So Nate, I'd love to know, do you have a morning ritual?
I do have a morning ritual, and you know, it's funny. I mean, the morning ritual, I think, you know, more, you know, is a piece of just, you know, habit and routine, and something that I've learned a lot, or, you know, realized or learned a lot in my journey. While I kind of start, you know, you're chasing, you know, freedom, and I don't want to have, you know, any restrictions or freedom for anything. And then, you know, I've certainly realized that I actually, you know, crave and thrive on some structure. And so despite, you know, traveling as much as I have and going to different places, I actually do have a pretty solid, you know, structure or routine, including morning routine. And so for me is wake up, you know, contacts in, take some supplements, meditate for between 5 and 15 minutes usually, and then I have a gratitude journal that I just like write down. Cool. I mean, it's a kind of evolving mix of gratitude / achievement journal. So a lot of the things are, you know, achievements from the day before that I'm also grateful for. But so actually, I mean, recently it's like, I guess, achievements as well as gratitude. And I sleep with my phone on airplane mode. And so then after the gratitude achievements, then airplane mode off. And then it's just like freaking messages from the night of. Then it gets crazy, but it's very nice until then, generally. So
that's cool, man. No, I absolutely think that having a morning routine in place is really vital, because like you said, you take that airplane mode off and then suddenly you're almost into reacting mode, and you're getting all these notifications instead of acting on the things that you want to be doing. You're kind of replying and changing your plan to do things. So having that time and space just for yourself, I think, is very good for the mind and, you know, really sets you up for the day. So before the Amazon business, when you just started working and doing this stuff online, which, you know, I'd imagine was probably pretty new to most people, like, what do your family and friends think? Were you crazy, or they support you, or?
They thought a lot of things, a little bit of both. I mean, you know, some people were just supportive, and, you know, they could tell I was, you know, passionate and excited about it. And, you know, in my head, I always knew that I was going to figure it out somehow. On the other hand, I had people, you know, that are like, you met this guy in Thailand who told you what, and now you're doing, you know, now you're doing what?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it doesn't. It sounds kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, I knew, I just knew that this is what I wanted to do and would do, and I knew there were other people that were doing this, and so I knew that I could be one of them, and I could, you know, figure it out. And that's what I would say, honestly, to anyone that's, you know, watching this now. Whatever it is, whether it's Amazon business or, you know, other business aspirations, like you can do it. You know, other people are doing it, and no one is that much smarter than anyone. You know, everyone has the same access to resources. Everyone, you know, can do this, and it really starts with, you know, mindset and belief. And, you know, I know, you know, for me and, you know, for you, you need to believe it first. You know, it's hard. It definitely is hard. There's hard times, there's challenges. And if you don't have that belief that, you know, fundamentally that, you know, you can do this, then, you know, at the first, you know, chance or sign, then, you know, there you go. You're going to give up. And for me, you know, I just knew, I don't know what it was, but I just knew that I could and that I would do this.
Well, that has been awesome, Nate. We've covered a whole heap of different topics. There's a ton of great takeaways in there for people that are just starting out, to people that are growing their businesses, or even like looking to perhaps sell them. So that has been awesome. Do you have any sort of final words of advice or parting words?
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure, man.
Only hope that, you know, my story and you know, the interview is useful to you and all of you. And, you know, if you have ideas or opportunities or things, like I believe in abundance. Success is better when shared. You know, trying to find these 1 + 1 = 3 opportunities. And so if anyone has any ideas, would love to hear from you. You can contact me on my personal website, nateginsberg.com, or if you like yoga and travel pictures, you can follow me on Instagram at Nate Ginsberg. And would love to be in touch.
Cool. Awesome. It's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All the best. So there you have it, guys. What an incredible story. I hope you got a whole bunch of takeaways from Nate. I know that I certainly did. And also, if you haven't checked out our other video that features his story, then make sure to do that too. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. And Nate is the perfect example of that. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos in the future. Until next time, guys, take care.